Veronica Castro is being sued by her own son. The legal letter arrived on a Tuesday morning. Cristian Castro is demanding access to bank accounts his mother has controlled for 30 years. But this isn't a money fight. This is the final collapse of one of the most toxic dynasties in Mexican entertainment. In this video, you'll hear the audio recording where Veronica admits she's been manipulating Cristian's career since he was 4 years old. You'll see the letter Cristian never sent his mother, the one that explains why he fled Mexico. And you'll meet Veronica's third secret child, someone the entire industry works overtime to keep hidden. This is the story Televisa would rather bury. In this video, you'll see the real contract Veronica signed when Cristian was 8 years old, giving her total control of his income. You'll see the backstage photos where Cristian collapses in 2004 photos that were never published. And you'll hear video testimony from Michelle Castro, revealing exactly what happened the night she decided to cut contact with her mother forever. Mexico City. Veronica Castro is Televisa's undisputed queen. 3 telenovelas pulling 40-point ratings, weekly magazine covers, her face on every corner of the country. She's 35 and the world is at her feet. But there's a problem. She's raising 2 little boys alone. Cristian is 12, Michelle is 8. Their father, Manuel Valdez, shows up occasionally, pays child support, and that's it. That night, Veronica makes a decision that will destroy her children. She's sitting in her dressing room after filming a scene for Rosa Salvaje. Her makeup artist just left. Veronica looks into the mirror. She sees a 35-year-old woman in an industry that tosses women aside at 40. She sees her future mom roles, villain roles, supporting roles, the inevitable downward curve. Then she looks at the photo on her vanity. Cristian at 4 years old, blonde hair, light eyes, a perfect smile, and she thinks he can be what I can't be anymore. There's a recording of the conversation she has with her manager that night. It was captured by accident on a cassette that kept rolling. And what she says in those 11 minutes changes everything. We'll come back to it. Cristian Castro didn't know he was going to be a singer. At 12, he wanted to be an architect. He spent hours drawing imaginary buildings in notebooks that his mother checked every night. "So beautiful, my love," she'd say. Then she'd throw the notebooks in the trash after Cristian fell asleep, because Veronica had already decided for him. Veronica takes Cristian to Televisa and tells him they're going to lunch. A lie. She takes him straight to a recording studio. A producer is waiting. "Sing something," Veronica orders. Cristian is 13. He's never sung outside the shower. He freezes. "Sing," Veronica repeats. This time it isn't a suggestion. Cristian sings Ahora que te vas by Juan Gabriel. His voice shakes. He messes up 2 verses, but the producer sees something. He sees the last name Castro. He sees automatic access to Siempre and Domingo. He sees money. He sees potential. "It's done," Veronica says, smiling. It's the last time Cristian makes a decision about his own life. That same year, Veronica pulls him out of school. Not officially. Officially, he's still enrolled at Colegio Madrid, but he shows up 2 days a week at most. The rest of the time, it's voice lessons, acting lessons, piano, dance. Veronica hires 5 teachers. They all come to the house. Cristian studies from 8 in the morning to 9 at night. At 13 years old, he's working 13 hours a day. On weekends, Veronica takes him to perform in shopping malls. Cristian sings between ads for face creams. Michelle, the younger brother, watches all of it from his room. He's 9. He watches Cristian disappear little by little. He watches his older brother, who used to play soccer with him, become too tired to move. Michelle learns something crucial. Staying invisible is survival. Cristian releases his first album at 16, Agua Nueva. Veronica invests $200,000 of her own money in production and promotion. She doesn't ask Cristian. She presents it as a done deal. The album sells 400,000 copies. Veronica makes back her investment 5 times over. But there's a problem. All the money goes into accounts only Veronica controls. Cristian signs a contract. He's 16. Legally, he's a minor. He can't sign without a guardian. Veronica is his guardian. She signs for him. The contract states Veronica Castro will manage all income generated by Cristian Castro's artistic career until he turns 25. 9 years of absolute control. Cristian doesn't read the contract. Veronica tells him, "It's to protect you, my love. You just sing." That contract still exists. It's in a safe at Televisa's offices. We'll come back to it. Christian's success is immediate and brutal. At 17, he's on magazine covers. At 18, he fills the Auditorio Nacional. At 19, he tours all of Latin America. He sleeps 4 hours a night. He eats when Veronica allows him to. He has a girlfriend only when Veronica approves the girl. And when he's with that girlfriend, Veronica is in the living room listening. An ex-girlfriend from those years gave an interview in 2015. She asked to remain anonymous. She said, dating Christian was dating Veronica. She decided where we went, what time we got back, what we did. Once Christian tried to kiss me in his room. Veronica knocked on the door 30 seconds later, said she needed to talk to him. Urgently. She waited outside until I left. That happened 4 times. Christian never complained publicly. In 90s interviews, he talks about his mother like he worships her. She's my best friend, he says on Siempre en Domingo in 1993. I don't know what I'd do without her. The audience applauds. Veronica is in the crowd. She smiles. Christian looks at her while he speaks, searching for approval in real time. When Veronica nods, Christian's shoulders relax. When Veronica frowns, Christian changes the subject immediately. Raul Velasco, the host, noticed. In a posthumous interview published in 2006, he revealed, Christian was the only artist who asked permission to speak literally. Between questions, he'd look at Veronica and wait for signals. If she moved her head subtly, he wouldn't answer, or he'd change his answer. I saw it live. It happened 3 times in a single interview. Meanwhile, Michel Castro is growing up in the shadows. He's 14 in 1993. He sees the whole circus around his brother tours, concerts, photo shoots. He also sees what the cameras never catch. Christian crying in the bathroom after shows. Christian throwing up from stress before performances. Christian begging to sleep 1 more hour, and Veronica refusing because you have interviews. Michel makes a conscious decision. He will never be an entertainer. He studies quietly. He graduates, goes to university architecture. What Christian wanted to study. Veronica barely notices him. Michel is the invisible child, and that paradoxically saves him. Christian turns 19. He's at the top. His 3rd album, Un Segundo en el Tiempo, sells 1 million copies. He wins his first Latin Grammy. But something inside him is broken. He starts having anxiety attacks before going on stage. His hands shake. His breathing speeds up. A doctor prescribes Valium. Christian takes 2 pills before every concert, then 3, then 4. Veronica either doesn't know or doesn't want to know. One night after a concert in Guadalajara, Christian collapses in his dressing room. He's hyperventilating. He can't breathe. His manager calls a paramedic. Veronica arrives 10 minutes later. The paramedic suggests canceling the next 3 shows. Veronica says, impossible. She looks at Christian and says, you'll pull yourself together. We have 50,000 people waiting for you in Monterrey tomorrow. Christian goes to Monterrey. He sings. He collapses again. And then the cycle continues. Have you ever wondered what it takes to completely break a person? It's not one big event. It's the accumulation of 1,000 small ones. It's waking up every day knowing your life doesn't belong to you. It's smiling for cameras while you're drowning inside. Christian was drowning, and Veronica was holding his head underwater while telling him, breathe, my love. There's a photo from that day in Monterrey, backstage after the concert. It shows Christian sitting on the floor, his back against the wall, head in his hands. His knuckles are white from gripping so hard. A technician is next to him offering water. Christian doesn't even see it. He's completely dissociated. The photo was never published. Televisa bought it from the photographer for $10,000 and archived it. We'll come back to that photo. Christian is 21 when he meets Gabriela Bo, an Argentine TV host. Smart, independent, with her own career. She doesn't need the Castro last name, and that makes her dangerous to Veronica. The first time Gabriela visits Veronica's house in Bosque de las Lomas, something feels off. Veronica is polite, too polite. She smiles constantly. She asks about Gabriela's family, her work, her plans. Gabriela thinks, wow, I got lucky. A kind mother-in-law. She doesn't realize she's being evaluated. Veronica is looking for weaknesses. Cristian and Gabriela get serious. For the first time in his life, Cristian has someone who isn't on his mother's payroll. Someone who asks him, what do you want? No one had ever asked him that, and Cristian doesn't know how to answer. Literally. It takes him weeks to say something as simple as, "I want Italian food," without scanning the room for approval. Gabriella notices something disturbing. Christian reports everything back to his mother. "Where did you go to dinner? What did you eat? What time did you get home?" Gabriella asks him, "Why do you tell her everything?" Christian answers, "Because she worries." Gabriella doesn't say anything, but she thinks, this isn't worry, this is control. Months later, Christian proposes. Gabriella says yes. They're happy for 24 hours. Then Veronica finds out. The call comes on a Tuesday at 11 p.m. Veronica doesn't congratulate him. She doesn't ask details. She says 5 words, "I need to see you tomorrow. Urgent." Christian goes alone. Veronica is waiting in the living room. Papers on the table, contracts, account statements, legal documents. "Sit," she says. It's not an invitation. Christian sits. Veronica slides the papers toward him. "If you get married," she says slowly, "all of this gets complicated. The accounts, the contracts, the rights. Your wife would have legal access to financial information. She'd have a voice in career decisions." Christian tries to speak. Veronica cuts him off. "I'm not saying don't get married," she says. "I'm saying think. Do you really know this woman? Do you trust her with your career? With your legacy?" It's a masterclass in manipulation. Veronica doesn't forbid anything. She just plants doubts. She just asks questions. She just shows papers Christian doesn't fully understand. And it works. Christian leaves that meeting with something new in his mind. Fear. Fear that Gabriella wants his money. Fear his career will be harmed. Fear of disappointing his mother. 3 months later, Christian breaks the engagement. Gabriella is devastated. She asks why. Christian says, "I'm not ready." A lie. The truth is, my mother isn't ready, but Christian can't say that. He doesn't have the language to understand his own prison. Gabriella Bo spoke publicly about it in 2003. She said Christian was two people. With me, he was vulnerable, sweet, real. With his mother present, he was an automaton. He repeated phrases that clearly weren't his. "I need to focus on my career. It's not the right time." It was Veronica's words coming out of Christian's mouth. After the breakup, Christian falls into his worst depression. He's 22. He's been working 14 hours a day for 9 years. His one attempt at a personal life just exploded. And worst of all, he thinks it's his fault. He can't tell the difference between his voice and his mother's voice anymore. They've fused. He starts drinking. Not in public. Never in public. In private, in his room. After concerts, straight from the bottle. Tequila, whatever's available. He doesn't drink to feel good. He drinks to feel something, because the alternative is emptiness. It's being a body that sings songs he didn't write, living a life he didn't choose, smiling in photos while dying inside. Michelle watches it all. He's 18. He's in university. He's managed to stay off Veronica's radar, but he sees his brother destroying himself. One night after a particularly tense family dinner, Michelle confronts Christian. "Why do you keep doing this?" he asks. "You have money. You have fame. You can leave." Christian looks at him like Michelle just suggested he fly to Mars. "I can't," Christian says. "Why not?" Michelle asks. Christian opens his mouth, closes it. He has no answer. That is the answer. Remember that conversation. It's going to matter. Christian turns 23. Something changes. A group of American producers reach out. They want to work with him. Record in English. Break into the U.S. market. It's massive. Christian is excited. He tells Veronica. She says no. "The Latin market is your base," she explains. "If you go to the United States, you lose Mexico. You lose your identity. You lose your essence." It sounds reasonable. It sounds like wise, motherly advice. But it's something else. It's fear. Fear that Christian will build a career outside her control. Fear that American producers will ask why his mother manages all his money. Fear of losing power. Christian turns down the offer. The producers move on to Enrique Iglesias. Enrique blows up in the U.S., conquers markets Christian will never touch. Christian watches it happen in real time. He sees the life he could have had. He sees the career he sacrificed. And worst of all, he knows the decision wasn't his. That night, Christian writes something a letter. He never sends it, but he writes it. It's kept in a box in his house in Los Angeles. In that letter, he tells his mother everything he never could say to her in person. He says he's exhausted, that he doesn't want to be a singer, that he never wanted to be a singer, that all he wanted was to draw buildings and she stole that life from him. He writes that he hates her, then crosses it out and writes, I love you, but I hate you. Then he crosses everything out and writes, I don't know who I am without you, and that terrifies me. The letter never reaches Veronica, but it exists. It's physical proof that Christian knew. On some deep level, he understood what was being done to him. He just didn't have the tools to escape. We'll come back to that letter. I promise you what's in the last 3 paragraphs will explain exactly why Christian made the decision he made in 2004. Michelle Castro graduates in architecture. There's no party, no celebration. Veronica is on tour with Christian in Spain. Michelle receives his diploma alone. His father, Manuel Valdez, attends. He hugs him and says, I'm proud of you. Those are the only words of validation Michelle gets from his parents in 4 years of university. After graduating, Michelle makes a radical decision. He moves to Argentina away from Mexico, away from Televisa, away from Veronica. He gets a job at an architecture firm in Buenos Aires. He uses his father's last name, Michelle Valdez, not Michelle Castro. It's a deliberate act of invisibility, survival. Veronica barely notices he's gone. She's too busy managing every aspect of Christian's life. Christian is 24, and he still doesn't have access to his own bank accounts. He still doesn't know how much money he's generated in 10 years of career. A financial journalist estimated in 2001 that Christian earned around $15 million between 1991 and 2000. Christian lived in a rented apartment Veronica paid for. He drove a car Veronica bought. He had a credit card with a monthly limit of a few $1,000s. That was it. Where were the other 14.9 million? Invested, Veronica would say. In what? Christian would ask. Smart things, she'd answer. And Christian never asked again. He'd learned that asking created tension, and tension created guilt, and guilt was unbearable. Christian turns 25. According to the contract signed when he was 16, this is the year Veronica is supposed to transfer control of his finances. It doesn't happen. Veronica schedules a meeting. She brings her lawyer. She explains to Christian that transferring everything at once would be fiscally irresponsible, that it's better to keep the current structure for a few more years, that she'll continue managing the investments because she has more experience. Christian signs new papers. He doesn't read them. He trusts her. The contract is extended until Christian turns 30, 5 more years of absolute control. And that same year, something breaks inside Christian. He starts having panic attacks on stage, not private collapses, public ones. At a concert in Puebla, Christian forgets the lyrics to his own song. He just stands there, microphone in hand, staring into nothing. The audience sings for him. Christian starts crying on stage in front of 20,000 people. Veronica is backstage. Her expression isn't concern, it's rage. After the concert, she shuts the dressing room door. No one knows exactly what was said, but Christian's manager, who was standing outside, later reported hearing Veronica screaming. Christian didn't answer. There was only silence, and then crying. The tour continues. Christian sings, smiles, signs autographs, but something is permanently broken. His eyes are empty. In interviews, his answers are monosyllabic. Journalists notice. One writes, Cristian Castro looks like someone who hasn't slept in years, not just tired, existentially exhausted. Christian meets Valeria Liberman. She's a psychologist. She works at a clinic in Miami. She doesn't know who Cristian Castro is, or more precisely, she knows, but she doesn't care. When Christian says, I'm a singer, she replies, interesting. Do you like it? No one had ever asked him that. Christian and Valeria start dating. For the first time, Christian doesn't tell Veronica everything. Valeria becomes his secret, his space, the only part of his life his mother doesn't control. They go to quiet dinners, walk on the beach at night, talk. And slowly, Christian starts to really talk. He tells her about the contract, about the control, about years of nonstop work, about feeling like a product instead of a person. Valeria listens. She doesn't judge. She just asks, What do you want to do about it? Christian has no answer. He doesn't know what he wants because he's never been allowed to want anything. His entire life has been about executing someone else's plan. Valeria gives him homework. For 1 week, she says, every time you're about to make a decision, ask yourself, do I want this or does my mother want this? Christian can't complete the exercise. Every answer is the same. I don't know. 6 months later, Valeria proposes to him. Yes, she proposes to him. Christian says yes immediately. For the first time in his life, he makes a decision in less than 5 seconds. He doesn't call Veronica. He doesn't ask permission. He just says yes. They get married in Miami. A private ceremony. 15 people. No press, no Televisa, no Veronica. She finds out 3 days later. The call is short. I got married, Christian says. I see, Veronica replies. She hangs up. No congratulations. No hug. Just silence. That silence lasts 6 months. Veronica cuts off contact completely. She doesn't answer calls. She doesn't respond to messages. It's punishment. Classic manipulation, withholding affection to create desperation, and it works. Christian is destroyed. He calls every day, leaves messages. Mom, please talk to me. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hide it from you. He's apologizing for getting married, for making a decision about his own life. Valeria watches all of this. She watches her husband fall apart because his mother won't call him. She sees the pattern, and one day she says, Christian, this isn't normal. This isn't maternal love. This is abuse. Christian looks at her like she just slapped him. Don't say that, he replies. She loves me. She's just hurt. Valeria doesn't push, but she thinks this marriage has an expiration date. Eventually, Veronica breaks the silence. She calls Christian and tells him she needs to see him, urgently. Christian flies to Mexico the next day, alone. Valeria isn't invited. Veronica waits for him in tears. Real tears. She says she felt betrayed, that she thought they had a relationship where they told each other everything, that she can't believe her own son excluded her from the most important day of his life. Christian collapses. He cries, he apologizes. He promises never to hide anything from her again. Veronica hugs him and says, That's all I needed to hear, my love. And just like that, a married 26-year-old man apologizes to his mother for getting married. The cycle continues, but now there are cracks. Valeria is a variable Veronica can't fully control. Valeria has her own profession, her own money, and most dangerously, her own voice. When Veronica suggests a 6-month tour through South America, Valeria asks, And when will you have time for your marriage? It's a simple question, but in Christian's life, it's revolutionary. For the first time, someone is putting personal needs above professional obligations. Someone is suggesting Christian can say no. Veronica feels it. This is an existential threat to her control. So she does what she always does. Divide and conquer. It starts subtly. Small comments. Valeria looks tired. Interesting that Valeria has opinions about your career. Remember, your career existed before Valeria. Nothing direct. Nothing Christian can point to as an attack. Just drip by drip poison, and it works. Christian starts doubting. He starts seeing Valeria as controlling when she's just setting normal boundaries. He starts feeling like he has to choose between his wife and his mother. It's a false choice, but Veronica constructs it perfectly. The marriage collapses. Christian and Valeria divorce after 2 years. Valeria gives one interview, just one. She says, I didn't divorce Christian. I divorced Veronica. It's impossible to have a marriage with 3 people. And the third one always had the deciding vote. After the divorce, Christian falls completely back into Veronica's orbit. It's as if the 2 years of marriage never happened. Christian moves back into his mother's house. He's 28. He lives in the same bedroom he had at 15. It's temporary, Veronica says. Just until you stabilize emotionally, my love. Christian never moves out. He stays 2 more years. During those 2 years, something terrible happens. Christian develops a serious dependency on anti-anxiety medications. It starts with prescriptions, Valium for panic attacks, but it escalates. Xanax, clonazepam, Rivotril. He takes pills to be able to sing, takes more pills to sleep afterward, takes pills to wake up. His entire system runs on chemicals. Veronica knows. She has to know. She controls everything in the house. She sees the pill boxes. She sees Christian zombie walking through the day. But she doesn't intervene because a medicated Christian is a controllable Christian. An addicted Christian is a dependent Christian. And dependency is the core of Veronica's power. This is the year everything explodes. Christian is 29. He's on the longest tour of his career, 80 concerts in 6 months. His body is destroyed. He's lost 30 pounds. He sleeps 2 hours a night. He takes 12 pills a day just to function. And then, at a concert in Monterey, his heart almost stops. This isn't a metaphor. His heart literally develops arrhythmia. He's on stage. Third song. Suddenly he can't breathe. This time it's not anxiety, it's physical. He grabs his chest. The microphone falls. Christian collapses on stage in front of 40,000 people. He's rushed to the hospital. Ventricular tachycardia, caused by a mix of stimulants and sedatives. The doctors tell him, if you keep this up, you won't make it to 35. They ask what medications he's taking. Christian lists 7. Who prescribed these? They ask. Christian can't answer. Some were prescribed. Some his manager bought without prescriptions. Some his mother gave him from her own medicine cabinet. It's a system of chemical dependency designed to keep him functional, but never independent. That night in the hospital, Christian makes the only real decision of his adult life. He calls Michelle. His brother's in Argentina. They haven't spoken in 3 months. Christian says 4 words. I need to get out. Help me. Michelle takes the first flight. He arrives 6 hours later. He finds Christian alone. Veronica isn't there. The manager isn't there. Christian is in a hospital bed, hooked up to monitors, completely alone. Michelle asks, "Where's Mom?" Christian answers while talking to a promoter, trying to reschedule the canceled concerts. Read that again. Her son almost died and she's negotiating tour dates. Michelle sits next to the bed. "Brother," he says, "you have to leave. You have to get away. This is literally killing you." Christian replies, "I can't. I have contracts, obligations. Mom needs me." Michelle looks him straight in the eye. "Mom doesn't need you. She needs your money. There's a difference." It's the first time anyone says that truth out loud. Christian doesn't respond, but something changes in his eyes. Michelle sees it. He sees his brother wake up from a 15-year dream. He sees the exact moment Christian understands. I've been used. 3 days later, Christian is discharged. Veronica is waiting. She has a printed schedule. "We need to reorganize the tour," she starts. Christian interrupts her. "No." Veronica blinks. "What?" "No," Christian repeats. "I'm not doing any more touring. I need to rest." Veronica switches tactics. Tears. "My love, I understand you're scared, but we can't cancel. We'd lose $2 million in penalties. And there are thousands of people who bought tickets, kids who admire you, families who saved money to see you. You can't disappoint them." It's brilliant. Guilt, responsibility, financial fear, all in 30 seconds. Before it would have worked. But something changed in that hospital room. "Then lose the $2 million, Christian says. "It's my money that you control. Use it to pay the penalties." Veronica is speechless. For the first time in 15 years, Christian said no and didn't back down. That night, Christian packs a bag. He doesn't tell anyone where he's going. He tells Michelle, "I'm going to disappear for a while." Michelle understands. He gives him cash. He gives him the key to an apartment in Buenos Aires he uses for work. "Take it. Stay as long as you need." Christian flies to Argentina the next day. He doesn't tell Veronica. He simply disappears. He turns off his phone, changes his number, cuts contact with his manager, with Televisa, with his band, everyone. For the first time in his adult life, Christian is alone. No schedule, no concerts, no pills, just him. The first days are hell. Withdrawal from anti-anxiety meds, tremors, sweating, insomnia. Christian goes 72 hours without sleep. His body detoxes from years of chemicals. But he survives. Michelle visits every day, brings food, talks to him, and slowly, very slowly, Christian starts to feel human again. Veronica is furious. She calls Michelle 40 times. Michelle doesn't answer. She hires private investigators to find Christian. Michelle misdirects them. It's a silent war between mother and younger son. And for the first time, Michelle wins. Christian spends 6 months in Argentina, 6 months without singing, without press, without fame. He works at a cafe under a fake name. Juan Perez serves coffee, cleans tables, earns a few $100s a month. It's the poorest period of his life and the happiest. Because for the first time, his time belongs to him. His decisions belong to him. His life belongs to him. During those months, Christian goes to therapy, real therapy, with a psychiatrist specializing in family abuse, because that's what it was. Abuse. Not physical, but abuse. The therapist gives it a name: inverted parentification. When a parent uses a child to fulfill the parent's emotional and financial needs, the child becomes the provider, the object, the tool. Christian reads about it, reads similar cases. Judy Garland, Michael Jackson, Macaulay Culkin. Children who were money machines for their parents. Adults who never got their childhoods back. Some who didn't survive. And he understands, I'm not crazy. This was done to me. That realization is liberating and devastating at the same time. Liberating because it's not his fault. Devastating because it means his mother, the person who was supposed to love him most, used him for 15 years. Consciously. Remember that letter Christian wrote in 1998? The one he never sent? The last 3 paragraphs say, Mom, I know you love me, but your love is killing me. I don't know how to tell you this without you falling apart, without you making me feel guilty, without you convincing me I'm wrong. So I won't tell you in person. I'll just write it here on this paper you'll never read, to have it as evidence, to remind myself that once I was brave enough to think this, even if not brave enough to say it. I want to be free, even if that means losing you, even if that means being poor, even if that means being nobody. I'd rather be nobody than be your everything, because your everything is consuming me. That letter explains exactly why Christian did what he did in 2004. It wasn't an impulsive breakdown. It was the result of years of slowly realizing he was in a prison. And when his body almost gave out, he took the chance to escape. He ran. Andrea grew up watching Veronica be a mother to Christian and Michelle, watching the control, the intensity, the suffocating love. And Andrea thinks, I was lucky, because Veronica's abandonment was paradoxically a gift. It spared her from being consumed. Cristian and Michelle know Andrea, but they never talk about her publicly. She's the family secret, the biggest skeleton in the Castro closet. Televisa knows. They pressured multiple journalists not to publish anything. Why? Because Veronica Castro is a Televisa asset, and exposing that she abandoned a daughter would destroy the devoted mother image Televisa sold for decades. Andrea is 41 now. She lives in Monterrey. She's an accountant, married, with 2 children. She doesn't use the Castro last name. She doesn't talk to the press. She wants nothing from Veronica, and Veronica seems fine with that. It's convenient. An invisible child doesn't complicate the narrative, but the fact remains. Veronica Castro created 3 children. She consumed 1. She ignored another. She abandoned the 3rd. Different strategies, same result, deep damage. Today in 2025, Christian is 50. He still sings, but on his terms. 1 concert every couple of months. No tours, no marathons. He has full control of his finances. He lives in Los Angeles. He's been married and divorced 3 more times. Each marriage lasted less than the last. His relationships are broken, because when your first experience of love is toxic, you learn toxic love. You repeat the pattern. And Christian is still in therapy, trying to unlearn 15 years of conditioning. Michelle is 46, a successful architect, married, no children by choice. I don't trust myself not to repeat the patterns, he said in a rare 2019 interview. Michelle has limited contact with Veronica, birthday calls, Christmas dinners, nothing deep. They've built functional distance. Veronica is 73. She retired from acting in 2015. She lives in her house in Bosque de las Lomas. She occasionally gives interviews. In them, she talks about her children with pride. Cristian is my life, she often says. She never mentions Andrea. She never mentions that she nearly killed Cristian with control. She never mentions the $7 million that disappeared. She never mentions anything uncomfortable. In a 2020 interview, a journalist asked her, "Would you do anything differently as a mother?" Veronica answered, Absolutely nothing. I did the best I could with what I had. There's no reflection, no regret, no acknowledgement of harm, because in her mind there was no harm, there was love. And if her children suffered, that was a necessary price for success. This is the logic of every abusive parent. The end justifies the means. Christian is successful, therefore the method was correct. That Christian almost died in the process is irrelevant. That he lost his youth is irrelevant. That he doesn't know who he is without his career is irrelevant. What matters is the result, fame, and money. But here's the truth Veronica will never understand. Christian would have been successful anyway. He has real talent, an exceptional voice, natural charisma. He didn't need to be tortured into success. He would have gotten there regardless, but he would have arrived whole. He would have arrived happy. He would have arrived without needing years of therapy to undo the damage his mother caused. The tragedy of Veronica Castro isn't that she was a bad mother. It's that she genuinely believes she was a good one. She believes sacrificing her son's autonomy was an act of love. She believes controlling every aspect of his life was protection. She believes stealing years of his youth was an investment in his future. And that blind belief is what makes real reconciliation impossible. Because you can't reconcile with someone who doesn't believe there was ever a problem. Christian understands this now. In therapy, his psychiatrist asked him, "What do you need from your mother to heal?" Christian answered, "For her to admit she used me." The therapist asked, "Do you think that will ever happen?" Christian thought for a long time. Then he said, "No." And in that no, Christian found something close to peace. Not the peace of resolution, but the peace of acceptance. His mother will never change. She will never apologize. She will never understand. And Christian has to live with that. The last time Christian and Veronica had a deep conversation was in 2018. In a moment of vulnerability, Christian said, "Mom, you stole my youth." Veronica replied, "I gave you a career." Christian said, "I didn't ask for a career. I asked to be your son." Veronica cried, but not because she understood. She cried because she felt attacked, victimized. "After everything I did for you," she said, and that sentence contains everything. What I did for you. Not what we did together, not what you wanted. What she did for him without asking, without consent, and expecting eternal gratitude. That conversation ended badly. Christian left. They didn't speak for 8 months. Eventually they reconciled superficially, but the wound remained because Christian finally put into words what he'd always known subconsciously. His mother loved him, but her love was consuming, not nourishing. It was love that takes, not gives. Love that builds monuments to itself, using her child as building material. Today, when Christian sings Azul or No Padras or any of his hits, there's something different in his voice. Not technically, better, emotionally truer. Because now he sings because he wants to, not because he has to. Fans who followed him for decades notice it. Christian sounds freer now. He is freer. Not completely. The scars of 15 years of control never fully heal. But he's freer than before. He makes his own decisions. He lives his own life. And even though that life is imperfect, 3 divorces, broken relationships, lost years, it's his. And that's worth more than all the awards his mother helped him win. So the question remains, was it worth it? Did Christian's success justify the price he paid? Veronica would say yes. Christian would say no. The truth probably lives in between. Christian is successful. He has a legendary career. He achieved extraordinary things. But he also lost his childhood, lost autonomy during crucial years, lost the ability to form healthy relationships. One doesn't cancel out the other. They coexist. Christian is successful and damaged, rich and broken, famous and lost. And that is the real tragedy of Veronica Castro's children. Not that they failed, but that they succeeded at the cost of their humanity. They were taught that personal value is measured in albums sold, that love is conditional on performance, that autonomy is selfish. And those messages, planted during formative years, are almost impossible to unlearn. But Christian is trying. At 50, he's finally learning who he is without his mother's desires dictating every decision. It's slow, painful, imperfect, but it's his. And in a world where so much was stolen from him, Reclaiming the process of self-discovery is a small but meaningful victory. So what do we learn from the story of Veronica Castro's children? That abuse doesn't always come with fists. Sometimes it comes with contracts, with opportunities, with love. That parents can destroy their children while genuinely believing they're helping them. That success without autonomy isn't success, it's a gilded cage. And that healing from a toxic family isn't linear. It isn't clean. It doesn't have a perfect happy ending. It's just a series of days where you choose your own voice over the voice implanted in your head. Some days you win, some days you lose. And that's okay. But there's one thing I haven't told you yet. Remember that 1987 recording, the one I mentioned at the beginning. The conversation between Veronica and her manager, accidentally captured on a cassette. For years, that tape sat archived in Televisa's offices. No one listened to it. Just another tape among thousands until 2011, when an audio technician found it while cleaning old files. The recording is 11 minutes long. The first 4 are Veronica reviewing her schedule. Nothing notable. But at minute 5, her manager asks something. "Are you sure Cristian wants this?" He's referring to the music career Veronica is planning for her 12-year-old son. Veronica's answer is chilling in its honesty. "It doesn't matter what he wants," her voice says, clear, emotionless. "He's 12. He doesn't know what he wants. I know what he needs. I know what the market needs. In 5 years, I'll be 40. Telenovelas end. I need something that keeps me relevant. Cristian is that something." The manager doesn't respond. There's 15 seconds of silence. Then Veronica continues. "He'll thank me. When he's 25 and a millionaire, he'll thank me. And if he doesn't, it doesn't matter. He'll have served his purpose." That recording was never published. The technician showed it to a senior Televisa producer. The producer listened to it, locked it in a safe, and told the technician never to speak of it again. "Veronica Castro is this company's heritage," he said. "This recording doesn't exist. But copies circulate. People close to the family have heard it, and it confirms what Cristian always knew deep down. His career was never about him. It was about preserving his mother's relevance. And that photo from Monterey, 2004, the backstage photo where Cristian is collapsed on the floor. It exists. It was taken by a press photographer named Ricardo Maldonado. He had access that day. He took 400 photos that night. 399 are typical Cristian smiling, greeting fans, singing. Photo number 400 is different. It shows Cristian 20 minutes after the concert, sitting on the concrete backstage floor, his back against a cinder block wall, his performance shirt soaked in sweat, his head buried in his hands, fingers tangled in his hair, his face partially visible and showing something no other image of Cristian Castro has ever captured. Pure desperation, not sadness, not exhaustion. The face of someone who has just realized he can't keep living like this. Ricardo tried to sell the photo. Every magazine said no. "Too dark," they said. "Fans don't want to see this." One magazine showed interest. TV Notice offered $5,000. Ricardo accepted. Publication was scheduled. 2 days before printing, the editor got a call. A Televisa lawyer. The conversation was brief. Televisa offered $10,000 for exclusive rights with one condition. The photo could never be published, ever. TV Notice accepted. Ricardo got paid, signed an NDA. The photo officially disappeared, but Ricardo kept a digital copy. He keeps it on an external hard drive. Occasionally, he shows it to trusted colleagues. "This is the photo Televisa doesn't want you to see," he tells them. And when they see it, they understand why. Because it destroys the narrative. The happy, successful artist. It shows the truth, a man destroyed by the machine that supposedly made him a star. In 2025, the situation is complicated. Cristian is 50, Veronica is 73. They speak on the phone every 2 weeks. Short conversations. "Hi, Mom. How are you, my love?" "Fine." Weather, health, small talk. Nothing deep. Never deep, because deep means pain. They see each other 3 times a year. Veronica's birthday in October, Christmas in December, Mother's Day in May. Cristian arrives, hugs his mother, stays 2 hours, leaves. It's ritual, obligation, the minimum acceptable behavior to avoid being publicly crucified as an ungrateful son. because that's another prison cultural expectation. In Mexico, abandoning your mother, even if she destroyed you, is socially unforgivable. So Christian performs. He plays the devoted son, and inside he counts the minutes until he can leave. Michelle lives permanently in Buenos Aires now. 46, successful architecture firm, discreet life. His last interview was in 2019. He's declined every request since. I have nothing to say about my family, is his standard answer. He talks to Christian once a month. Long calls, 2, 3 hours. Christian vents. Michelle listens. He never judges, never advises, just listens. For Christian, that's worth more than any therapy. Michelle sees Veronica once a year, if that. Keeps 7,000 kilometers of geographic and emotional distance. It's easier to love her from far away, he once told a close friend. And it's true. From Argentina, Michelle can remember the few good moments of childhood without being bombarded by the bad ones. He's built an edited version of his mother, tolerable, fictional, and he's at peace with that. Andrea, the invisible daughter, is 41 now. She lives in Monterrey, works as an accountant, married to an engineer named Fernando. 2 kids, a 12-year-old boy and a 9-year-old girl. A completely normal life, completely ordinary, completely hers. Andrea doesn't use the Castro last name only, Valdez. Her children don't know who Veronica Castro is. Or rather, they know she's a famous actress, but they don't know she's their biological grandmother. Andrea made that choice deliberately. Why? She told her husband. So they grow up with the wound of knowing their grandmother rejected them before meeting them? No. Better not to know. The last time Andrea spoke to Veronica was in 2018. Andrea called. She's not sure why. Hope, maybe. Closure. Veronica answered. The call lasted 3 minutes. Hello, Veronica, Andrea said. Never, Mom. Hello, Veronica replied. Polite. Distant. They exchanged trivialities. Then an awkward silence. Then goodbye. Andrea hung up and cried. Not because she expected something different, but because it confirmed what she'd always known. To Veronica, she doesn't exist, and never will. But Andrea is okay, or as okay as someone can be who grew up knowing her biological mother chose not to have her. She goes to therapy, processes, heals slowly, and she's decided to break the cycle with her own children. She asks them what they want, she listens, she respects their choices. When her 12-year-old son said he wanted to quit soccer to make art, Andrea said, perfect. What kind of art? No pressure, no guilt, just support. That is victory, not grand, not dramatic, but victory nonetheless, because Andrea is doing what Veronica never did, putting her children first, not her career, not her ego, not her need for relevance, her children. And in that simple act, Andrea shows more maternal strength than Veronica ever did in her entire life. The story of Veronica Castro's children doesn't have a happy ending. No emotional reconciliation. No public apology. No poetic justice. Just 3 people, Christian, Michelle, Andrea, trying to live with the wounds inflicted on them. Some days they do better than others. Some days the weight is too heavy. But they keep going because there's no other option. And maybe the most important lesson here isn't about Veronica. It's about us. About how we measure success. About what we're willing to sacrifice for it. About whether it's worth destroying our children on the altar of our ambitions. Veronica would say yes, that Christian proves her method worked. But if you ask Christian, he'll tell you something else. He'll tell you he'd rather be an unknown happy architect than a famous broken singer. And that's everything. Because Christian Castro's life wasn't stolen by a stranger. It was stolen by the person who supposedly loved him most. And that's the kind of betrayal you never fully recover from. You just learn to live with it, like a permanent scar. Always there, always visible, always reminding you of what you lost. If this story resonated with you, if you know someone trapped in a family dynamic where love is confused with control, share this video. Sometimes seeing your reality reflected in someone else's story is the first step toward realizing you need help. And if you're a parent, ask yourself honestly, am I raising my children for them or for me? Do my decisions benefit them or do they benefit me? It's an uncomfortable question, but a necessary one. Because in 20 years, your children won't remember how much money you made or what awards you won. They'll remember whether they felt unconditionally loved, whether they felt heard, whether they felt free to be themselves. And if the answer is no, no amount of success will ever fill that void. The children of Veronica Castro are living proof of that. What about the children of Ricky Martin? That's a story we'll tell in the next video. Because the cycle of famous parents destroying their children didn't end with Veronica, it continues. And what Ricky is doing with his children in the name of activism is just as dark. But that's a story for another day.